Part 1 and 2 of Ahsoka have dropped, and man oh man were those 2 episodes something else. I'm sure in the coming days and weeks I'll be diving more deeply into the series to discuss questions you guys have or to explain some stuff, but I wanted to take some time to share with you guys my thoughts on these episodes and how I feel about them. Before we dive in though, just know there will be some spoilers for Part 1 and 2 of Ahsoka, so be warned if you've yet to watch both episodes. Now, as someone that loves Star Wars Rebels, Part 1 and 2 of Ahsoka was so incredible, so much fun, and at times overwhelming to watch. Danny Girl and I just nestled up into our couch, watched the Trials of the Darksaber episode from Rebels beforehand, and then started watching Ahsoka right afterwards, and I was immediately enthralled by the opening crawl with its ominous music and red lettering, and then a starship immediately coming into view, just like in A New Hope, and I started freaking out from excitement and joy. And that excitement didn't cease until I got my booty cheeks in bed to pass out for the night. Even as I discuss this, I'm so thrilled and pumped at what we've already gotten from Ahsoka and can't wait to see what's to come as the season progresses. There's a lot, and I mean a lot, that I loved about these first 2 episodes, but let's discuss some of the things I enjoyed the most. For starters, Rosario Dawson has done a great job of portraying Ahsoka in The Mandalorian and in the Book of Boba Fett, and she was just as great in Part 1 and 2. Seeing her obtain the star map from the Dathomirian Temple on Arcana was so cool, especially since it made me feel like I was playing Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor with that puzzle that she had to crack to be able to access the star map. Speaking of Fallen Order, I really enjoyed Ahsoka getting like Force echoes outside the communication tower that Sabine lives in, something we saw Cal Kestis get in Fallen Order and Survivor. Ahsoka hasn't exhibited psychometry before, which is the Force ability of acquiring information about people or events associated with an object or a place solely by touching or entering it, but I still thought it was cool. One thing I really enjoyed about these 2 episodes is that the Ahsoka we're seeing feels very much like a Jedi Wayseeker to me. Wayseekers were Jedi who wished to operate independently of the Jedi High Council and its dictates and followed the Force to guide them to where they were needed. Obviously, the Jedi are no longer around, but we learn that Ahsoka has been living on her ship, traveling to wherever she's needed, which again really reminded me of a Wayseeker and just shows you what type of Jedi Ahsoka has become, even if she doesn't see herself as a Jedi Knight. While I think Ahsoka is a great example of someone that really exemplifies what it means to be a Jedi and how a Jedi should operate, it was made very clear that Ahsoka doesn't view herself as such, which is something we'll dive into more later on. Ahsoka seems to be a little unsure of herself because of the fact that she struggles with having left Anakin and whatever wound up happening between her and Sabine, and I think we're going to eventually see Ahsoka become a much stronger, much more confident Jedi Knight by season's end. Speaking of Sabine, I thought Natasha Liu Bordizzo perfectly encapsulated Sabine Wren in her performance. Bordizzo never made me question whether her version of Sabine differed from that of Tia Sakara's from Rebels. And in addition to that, I love that not only is Sabine Force sensitive, even if Hu Yang dunked on her for how poor her Force abilities are. While it wasn't outright stated in Rebels that Sabine is Force sensitive, it was totally hinted at, like how she just so happens to stumble upon Bendu in the episode Trial of the Darksaber. And hearing Ahsoka refer to Sabine as Padawan just made me smile from ear to ear. I seriously started stomping and cheering at that moment. What made Sabine and Ahsoka reuniting even more special is that it was our boy mother-licking Professor Hu Yang that helped those 2 somewhat reconcile and come together again to track down the villains and rekindle Sabine's training. I can't even begin to tell you guys how excited I was when it was revealed that Hu Yang would be in the series, and so far David Tennant and Dave Filoni have 100% lived up to my expectations. Not only does Hu Yang act as somewhat of a voice of reason for Ahsoka and Sabine, but my thought is that he's meant to also serve as a thread that connects Ahsoka back to the Jedi Order. Going back to my point earlier, the opening crawl is very clear that at this time, Ahsoka is a former Jedi, and we even hear her tell Hu Yang that she found out about the planet Arcana from Morgan Elsbeth by not following Jedi protocol. I think Ahsoka is struggling with her identity as a Jedi Knight because she feels somewhat responsible for Anakin's fall and the destruction of the Jedi. Hu Yang will absolutely continue to act as a voice of reason and a resource for Ahsoka and Sabine to utilize, but I also think he's going to help Ahsoka in realizing that while she did abandon the Jedi Order, she is still a Jedi Knight and one that could help rebuild the Jedi Order during a time when there are very few Jedi around. As expected, Hu Yang is dope. I loved every moment we got with him, and David Tennant is so perfect as the Professor. Moving on, I thought Mary Winstead did a great job at portraying Hera Syndulla, and she really excelled at capturing Hera's desire to act as the caring, maternal figure of the Ghost Crew. Like Hu Yang, Hera also aided Sabine and Ahsoka to somewhat bridge that rift between them, which felt very reminiscent of Hera from Rebels. Just like how Hera got in Kanan's buns when he was too tough on Sabine in Trials of the Darksaber, Hera is getting in Ahsoka's buns to try to get her to take Sabine back as her apprentice. While we're talking about Hera, I can't just not talk about everyone's favorite war criminal, Chopper. I loved how chaotic and spastic Chopper was as he and Hera tried to get a tracker on that fleeing starship on Corellia, and I love that we learned that Chopper has a junk drawer with random crap in it that makes it hard to find what we need, just like all of us. I was so happy to see my boy Chop do his thing. Let's switch gears now and discuss the villains of this series, who I'm so intrigued by. As I had theorized, we learned that Morgan Elsbeth is in fact a Dathomirian Night Sister, so I can't wait to learn more about her. How did she survive the destruction of the Night Sisters? How did she wind up becoming an agent of the Empire? Why is she so hell-bent on finding Thrawn? There's more than meets the eye with Elsbeth, and it'll be interesting to learn more about her and her past as the series progresses. In addition to the Dathomirian Witch, Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, the two Dark Jedi mercenaries in the employ of Elsbeth, have me so intrigued. Baylan was once a Jedi, a part of the Order, and while we know at least part of his motivations for working with Morgan Elsbeth is because of credits, we still don't know what his ultimate goals are. He doesn't seem to be fully on board with Elsbeth's plans, and it seems like there's conflict in him, which could explain why his lightsaber is more of this like orange and reddish kind of color. We don't know a ton about Baylan, but we do know that he's a former Jedi that survived Order 66, and I'm assuming that his apprentice Shin may not have been a part of the Jedi Order. After Huyang analyzes Shin and Baylan's lightsabers, he informed Ahsoka that he had never seen Shin's lightsaber design, which is significant. Huyang was created over 25,000 years prior to the events of Ahsoka and taught Jedi younglings how to construct their lightsabers. He has a vast database and knowledge about the lightsabers constructed under his tutelage, so him not knowing Shin's lightsaber suggests that it was constructed at some point after Order 66. Moreover, I'm obsessed with both Baylan and Shin's lightsabers and think they look so damn dope, and I absolutely love the outfits that both wear. Their outfits could totally pass as Sith or Jedi garb, which I like because these two characters are neither. While their lightsaber blades again are that reddish orange, we see that Baylan felt somewhat hesitant about the fact that he may have to kill Ahsoka since he knows that there are so few Jedi around. Although Shin seems to be a little bit more of a ride or die darksider, Baylan seems like he could be someone that could potentially return to the light. One other thing that I really enjoyed about Baylan and Shin is the difference in their fighting style. I love how ferocious and quick Shin's fighting style is compared to Baylan's, who seems to be more methodical and thoughtful. We've seen that sort of master and apprentice fighting style dichotomy with the likes of Obi-Wan and Anakin, so it was really cool to see that difference in Shin and Baylan. Speaking of villains, I'm so fascinated by Marok, who they are and what their deal is. Whenever they appeared, they felt so menacing and like a serious threat, and I can't wait to find out more about their character and what their story is. We do know that they were once an Inquisitor that hunted Jedi for the Empire, but they now work as a mercenary for Morgan Elsbeth. I theorized that Marok was the 8th brother from Star Wars Rebels, and until otherwise, I'm sticking with that theory. Yes, I know Marok has 5 fingers and not 4, but their lightsaber looks very much like the 8th brother's lightsaber, as does his helmet, and we never actually saw the 8th brother die in Rebels. Now, in addition to everything I've already mentioned, a few other things I enjoyed were the nods to the original trilogy, the prequels, Rogue One, the Clone Wars, and especially Rebels, all of which were dope and just super fun. How incredible is the scene where Shin finds Sabine on Lothal using a probe droid? Not only is that 100% a nod to Darth Maul and the Phantom Menace, but that shot where we see Shin flanked by HK droids with that music blaring was just so sick. Also, the reenactment of the final scene from Rebels, which is now acting as a springboard for the rest of the series, was so overwhelmingly joyful for me that I couldn't help but tear up at that point. And the Tuca cats! My god, did I love the Tucas, especially Sabine's. What an excellent choice to go with a puppet or an animatronic for the Tucas because it looks great. Lastly, it breaks my heart that Ray Stevenson, the actor that portrays Baylan Skoll, sadly passed away recently and isn't alive to experience what I believe would be so much love and admiration from Star Wars fans. He was spectacular in these 2 episodes. So yeah, part 1 and part 2 were everything and more that I could have asked for from these first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. They felt completely fresh to me while continuing to carry the torch from Rebels. To say that I'm excited for next week's episode would be an absolute understatement. But what did you think about part 1 and 2 of Ahsoka? Are you excited to see where this series goes from here? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you like this video, please help out the channel by hitting that like button and making sure you subscribe. Follow the channel on TikTok and Twitter at SW Transmissions. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.